Well, greetings everybody. So today I want to talk about something called the order of operations. And by operation, I mean something like multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, exponents. Operations are the things that you do in math. Add numbers, multiply numbers, divide numbers, and so on. Okay? Now there has to be an order that we do things, because if we don't agree on an order, we'll all get different answers, and that's not good. Okay? So I'll give you an example. Suppose we want to do 3 times 2 to the 4th power. Now, I guess I have some options here as far as which of these things I do first. There's a multiplication. It says 3 times 2 to the 4th power, so there's multiplication, but there's also an exponent. And I guess if we didn't have an order of operations that everybody agrees to follow, then I could do this just however I wanted to. And I want to show you that I'll get different answers if I do things in different orders. So here, let's say that we'll do it this first way, just as an experiment. We'll say, suppose we multiply first and we do the exponent second. So I've got 3 times 2 to the power 4. So I'll do the multiplication first. I'll do 3 times 2. That'll give me 6. And then that would leave the exponent undone. So then I'll do the exponent second, and that's 6 to the 4th power. That's 1,296. Okay? So maybe that's correct. Maybe that's the way things are supposed to be done. But I could do the operations the other way. I could do the exponent first and then multiply second. So look, I could do like this. I could say I've got 3 times 2 to the 4th power. If I do the exponent first, that would look like 2 to the power 4, which happens to be 16. And then I'll multiply second. Multiplying is what's left at this point. I multiply second. 3 times 16, that's 48. Now, see how when I did things in different orders, I got different answers. And we don't want to do it. We all want to agree on what the answer is. So only one of these can be right, is my point. And to know which one's right is to know which one follows the correct order of operations. So let's put this on hold as far as deciding which one's correct, and let's talk about what order of operations this is supposed to be. What order are we supposed to do things? Should we multiply and then exponent, or exponent and then multiply? Well, here's the order. So first we do all calculations within parentheses or brackets or braces before any operations outside. And we work from inside to outside within the parentheses, brackets, or braces. Now, to see exactly how that might look, I'll show you some examples in a minute. But parentheses come first. Okay. Second, we evaluate all exponents. Okay, and then when that's done, we do all multiplications and divisions in order as we encounter them, reading the problem from left to right. Okay. And then last, after all that's done before it, we do all additions and subtractions in order that we see them as we read the problem from left to right. Okay? So that's the correct order things should be done. Sometimes people say this to remember that. They call it PEMDAS, which stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. So if you wanted to think PEMDAS to help you remember the order of operations, you could. Now let's go back up here. I was showing you up here with which of these is correct. I said, well, if I do it different ways, I get different answers. Which way should I do it? The second way. Exponents come before multiplying, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Second step, evaluate all exponents. Okay, 2 to the 4th power. And then third step, do all multiplications and divisions as you see them from left to right. That would leave multiplication. 3 times 16, that's 48. So it's the second way that's correct. The first way, even if it looked like it was correct, and even if somebody could do it that way, doesn't follow the order of operations. So we wouldn't do it like this first way. We would do it like the second way. Okay, so let's see some examples. What do you think about this one? It says simplify the expression. What that means, I just want to calculate this number. What's 6 times 7? Subtract 3 times 4. Okay, well, so I wrote it out, and I'll take this step by step, just like those order of operations said. Okay, so first, what do I have? I got multiplication. I got 2 multiplications, and I have a subtraction. According to this, multiplications and divisions come before additions and subtractions. So I would need to do multiplication as I find it here, reading it left to right. That makes 6 times 7 first. That's 42. And then I would be here, right here, and I would say, okay, now I get to 3 times 4. That's 12. So then I did all multiplications as I saw them, reading this problem left to right. What's left? Subtraction. Okay, and indeed that comes next in the order of operations. So 42 minus 12, that's 30, and I'm done at that point. Do you see how I did things in this order? Multiplications and division left to right, and then I had just one subtraction left at that point, and I finished it that way. Okay? All right, so 30 is indeed the answer. Let's look at another one. So this one says 8 plus parentheses 8 minus 5 plus 6 squared. Now again, think, what did the order of operations say that we should do with this one? It says do all calculations inside parentheses, brackets, or braces before anything else outside. Okay? So indeed, like everything that I see here, the addition, the exponent, I've got to start with what's in that parentheses before I do anything else. Okay? So I do what's in the parentheses, 8 minus 5. Okay? That's just 3. And what am I left with then? 8 plus 3 plus 6 to the exponent 2. What comes next between addition and exponents? Exponents come next. So I do 6 to the second power, 36. And then what comes next? Well, I'm just left with 2 additions, and I do those from left to right. 8 plus 3 is 11, and 11 plus 36 is 47. And then I'm done. Okay, so always start with anything that's inside a parentheses, a pair of brackets, or anything like that. Right, let's look at this one. So what do we have here? 6 times 3 plus 30 divided by 5 plus 4. So I've got multiplication, division, and then 2 additions. So where do we start with that one? Well, notice how in the order of operations, multiplication and division are considered part of the same step. They come before additions and subtractions, but we do multiplications and divisions as we see them reading the problem from left to right. So I'll do like this. I'll say, okay, I got to do 6 times 3 first. Okay, that's 18. And then I read this left to right. Then I get 30 divided by 5. Okay, so that's 6. So I'm left with an 18 plus 6. And then this plus 4 is not involved yet. Okay, so I did the multiplication. Got 18. I did the division next. I got 6. Now I've got 18 plus 6 plus 4. So I'm just left with addition, and then I do those from left to right. I get 28. Okay? All right. Now this next one is, I guess you could think, maybe a little bit of an exception to the order of operations, or maybe a better way to look at it is this is 2 problems that I work individually. So I have a fraction here, okay? And a fraction has a top and a bottom. So I've got 4 plus 4 times, parentheses, 2 plus 2, okay? And that part I do all by itself, all right? I do just that part. I forget about the other part. I do that part alone. That's the top part. But to solve that top part, I use the order of operations. And then the bottom part, that's something separate. And I solve just that part, ignoring the top part. But I solve that using the order of operations. And then my final answer is, well, I get that number on top, whatever it is, and the number on bottom, whatever it is, and I get some final answer. Okay, so let's look at it. I get 4 plus 4 times, parentheses, 2 plus 2. So we always start inside parentheses before we do anything else. 2 plus 2. I do that first, right? So I put that red arrow, parentheses first. That's what we're doing first. That's 4. So this looks like 4 plus 4 times 4, okay? What's next after that? I got a plus and a times. Well, between those two things, multiplication comes before addition. So 4 times 4 is 16. And then I'm left with that one addition. 4 plus 16 is 20. So the top number should be 20. Look at that final answer. It's 20 divided by, or 20 over some other number. What about that bottom number? 6 to the second power plus 3. So I've got an exponent and I have addition. Which comes first? Exponents will come before addition. 6 to the second power is 36. Then plus 3. Addition's all that left at that point. It's 36 plus 3 is 39. Okay? Alright, so I get 20 divided by 39. So when you see a fraction like that, work out the top part, use the order of operations, and the bottom part separately with the order of operations, and then that's what you'll reduce it to from there. One more thing, if I could divide these numbers, like say I end up with 20 over 4, well then I will. 20 over 4, that's just 5, but 39 doesn't divide into 20, so we'll leave it like that. Okay, now one last thing, remember that in the order of operations it says do all calculations inside parentheses or brackets or braces or anything outside of that. So sometimes if we need to use multiple layers of parentheses, we'll also use brackets, so it's a little bit easier to look at. Okay, so like the last problem, it has like a set of parentheses right here, 4 times 2 minus 4, but then another set out there where it's a bracket. Now a bracket and a parentheses are no different. It's just that if we have this layer be parentheses and that layer be brackets, they tend not to run together as easily if you just saw parentheses everywhere. But they're treated the same. Now we work on parentheses and brackets. We do what's inside, we work from the outside in. So with this problem, I need to do this first, okay? And then I'll work out from there. Okay, so I'll say, okay, what's 4 times 2 minus 4? Okay, now I got to do that part first before anything else. But that has multiplication and subtraction. So what of that, what do you do first? Well, of multiplication and subtraction, we do multiplication first. So 4 times 2, that's 8. And then we get 8 subtract 4, that's 4. So that's what we do before anything else. Now what are we looking at in there? 10 times, what's this number now? 4 minus 20. So see, I wrote that. 10 times 4 minus 20. That's what's left in the bracket. Now still, we do whatever's inside parentheses or brackets before anything else. So of this, we have to do this next. We have to do 10 times 4 minus 20. Okay? How do you do that? Well, I see multiplication and subtraction, and we've learned already that we do multiplication first. 10 times 4 is 40. Then subtract 20 to get a final answer of 20. So that number is 20. What we're looking at now is 4 plus 2 times 20, which is what you see here. Now what do I have at this point? I've got addition and multiplication. Between those two things, multiplication is next. 2 times 20 is 40, and then now I have only an addition, 4 plus 40. I get a final answer of 44. Okay? So when you see more than one set of either parentheses or brackets, we'll start with the innermost one, look all the way inside, work what's in there, and expand outward until you've done everything that's inside a parentheses and brackets, working from the inside out. Then you can go and do whatever's left from there.